Okay, so we got it towards the end of my last stream, or actually towards the middle of it. We we found someone and we boarded him. The NYC Ark that we broke the NYC fort, and this guy Lindick, we ported him. We broke his hull, or so we thought. Or actually, we did break his hull, but then he kept showing up in the wild, and we kept breaking his hull, but he kept showing up. That is behavior that happens when someone leaves their app running, and that's what happens when you bot. When you use a bot or a macro to do something like continuously building rangers, for example, it keeps your app open. So if your hull breaks, then you will just port somewhere on the map rather than going into the abyss. That is a mechanic that going into the abyss is a mechanic that the devs put in there to keep you from like getting zeroed if you're not online, and it kind of saves you where you have a certain amount of hull points. But if the enemy burns through all those hull points, then you just disappear. So I probably shouldn't have ended my stream so early. It was like right after I ended the stream that we found him again for the third time on the map. And so we realized that must be because he is currently botting. So on this last time, it looks like Rasan got into his troops, or Ragnarok got into his real troops. So we broke through his hull. So we're trying to find him again because he is botting that is keeping him online. And so he's doing that because, like, he probably wants to continuously build rangers or something. But the byproduct of that is if you get hit, then you will stay on the map so people could continuously hit you. He was in the NYC fort radius. However, now he is not. And his shield went down when he was in the fort radius. So we broke the NYC fort garrison, hit him, he got ported, found him another few times, killed millions and millions of his rangers, and now we're trying to find him again so that we can zero him. And really we take a very hard stance to botting on our planet, which is that we find botting to be disrespectful of humans. Because a lot of the people, look, there's ways that you could bot that aren't disrespectful to humans. Like, building rangers itself, it's not like, who cares? Build all the rangers you want. But the problem is that people run alt accounts on our planet, and all of these alt accounts bot, and they take up tiles, and the top guild on our world, in order to protect what they see as tiles that they need for their alts to farm, end up pushing humans off of those tiles, and they make very oppressive farming rules, which in Seraphim we don't abide by, and we're openly at war with them. But they try and box in all of the other guilds basically on planet so that like the top players' alts can have farming capability. We don't like that. And so we heavily punish botters. When we find a botter, we will drop everything and attempt to zero them. So this Ark, this player Lindick, was clearly botting and just trying to find him on the map now. We broke his meat shield and looking to zero him. This is during the 10x medbay event. However, his med bay is certainly filled up all with rangers at this point. So anything that we kill will be perma-loss. So let's find the cheater. The only thing that could save him at this point, because I believe he is asleep, is if his app crashes. As long as the app is open, his botting practice will end up, biting him in the ass. Thought I was gonna get a break. I do not. No break. No break. So what's the big deal, right? Like, why do we drop everything when we find somebody botting to attempt to zero them? Like, why do we care what other people do? And, you know, this is kind of one of those things that, like, humans have a very hard time with moderation. I'll admit it. For all humans, we have a hard time with moderation. So, while there, you know, in theory, somebody could bot in a way that does not impact other people's playstyle. Not talking about breaking the game. We're talking about impacting other people's playstyle here. You could bot in a way that does that. This thing, find him. Okay, so you could bot in a way that doesn't impact other people's playstyle, but what people do is they have a good thing and they push it too far. So yeah, you could bot and build rangers and like whatever. That just increases your survivability. But people take it to the next level. You could bot and tile farm. Okay, so now you could reset your tiles all night long. You could reset your tiles all night long, and great, you can maximize your farming income. Even that, I don't have a problem with, because either way, you would be on 5 tiles. You know, I could just assume every active player would be on 5 tiles all the time. You know, there might be some of the time where, you're not earning as much and you're just sitting on the tiles. And like, you have like, you've already farmed them to capacity. That's going to happen some of the time. But you're always going to be on 5 tiles, and in fact, if you bot while you tile farm, theoretically, it's healthier for the planet than not botting while tile farming, because then you could also have a macro running that you don't actually wipe the tile, which is great. Then you're actually not depleting resources. So... okay, that's what I want to know. Where was he? So again, entertainment area. Okay, great. So you could, theoretically, there are healthy ways to bot farm. However, what happens is people have a problem with moderation. And what they do is, okay, it's not even their main arc that's farming. Like, that's fine. But they have alts, and then they think, well, if I could bot on my main arc and get the most out of it, why shouldn't I bot on my alt and get the most out of it? And even in theory, that's not such a big problem, but then you have people who have like 5 alts, 10 alts. I've heard people say that other people have 20 alts. I don't know if I believe that or not. That sounds excessive, like just managing that. But for sure, it is a possibility. And then what people do is they start botting with all their alts. So like suddenly, whereas I could first just assume that you as a person are going to be taking up 5 tiles, and you could even cultivate those tiles in a healthy fashion with botting by not depleting the tiles. Now suddenly we're talking about a person that has 10 tiles, or they're always occupying 15 or 20 tiles or 25 tiles. In and of itself, that's not a big issue. However, because look, if you're using alts to it, look, your alts are not going to be, developed. They're just not going to be as developed as my arc as a real person. And in general, if you want to take someone's tile, you can take their tile. All of the advantages are on the side of the attacker. You could scout and they don't get a notification. You could deploy correct formations. You could mitigate your own loss. All of these different things, you could see what their gear is. You could see what their formation is. And so you should always win when you attack a tile. You should never attack blind. Now, so it's not bad in theory even that people are bot farming on tiles. But what happens, where it becomes an issue, is where a guild starts to prioritize being able to bot farm over other people in other guilds' capability to farm. So I understand completely that you as a human being care more about your capability to farm than your neighbor's capability to farm, and you should. This is a war game, and that's survival. However, when you start putting an alt above me, or when you start putting 5 alts above me, that you must farm with 5 arcs all of the time, and that's more important than my capability to farm, now we're going to have issues, because what ends up happening is the people who see the game that way take that, and that impacts the server politics. So, look, this game is run by millionaires and billionaires. I don't know if anyone's a billionaire, but multi-millionaires, people who are very rich, who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the game. You get all those people in one guild, and they're going to be able to dictate the course of the server environment, or at least guide it. Everything kind of happens as a result of their behavior. And the server politics kind of come up around them as to a reaction to them. That's just what happens. We don't have any of those multimillionaires in Seraphim. We're forced to react to NYC that has 3 of them. Or really 2 of them, to be honest. So, because of that, they're able to influence server politics that it's more important for these people and their 5 other arcs that are all of them to farm, and they start imposing restrictions on the other guilds that are on a planet. And what that does is it forces the other guilds to farm lower level tiles, and then it just becomes about a respect issue, which is that this is a game, we are all human beings, and there has to be some capability for all of us to function, even though I understand there's going to be conflict. But as soon as you look at yourself and say you have the right to farm with 5 arcs and I don't even have the right to farm with 1 arc, now we have an issue. If you say your right to farm with 1 arc goes above my right to farm with 1 arc, then that's fine. We can have conflict and we can have dialogue about that. But when your outlook becomes, I must be able to have 100% of the pie, nobody could even have 1% of the pie, then what you end up doing is you end up polarizing an entire planet against you. And that is what has happened on server 880. Where originally it was NYC and AXR, but recently AXR sent all of its actual players, all of its active players, its contributing players, or people that were considered for a string for political reasons, sent all of them to NYC because in Seraphim we got some T12 players over time and we were able to break their fort. And so they wanted to consolidate all of their high-end players in one guild, which is absolutely what I would have done also. So they did that in order to be able to resist us breaking their fort. In the end, it doesn't work because unless a guild is going to completely go all in on every strategic asset, like their guild fort and every single capital all the time, then we are going to be able to do hit-and-run tactics and other ways to break their fort. What am I doing? Okay, someone told me to check guild chat. Anyway, I don't know what any of this is. So, because of that, even though we're still able to break strategic assets, but what it means is that all of the high-end players are forced into one guild. Everybody who doesn't agree with this value of those specific 3, 4, or 5 high-end players being able to farm with 10 alts apiece over my capability to farm with 1 arc, everybody who doesn't agree with that ended up aligning against NYC. So SR1, and we also have SRN, so Seraphim, as well as RA, Blue Pearl, and Bad are the active guilds on World, and so right now it is exactly that situation that I've described, where the server environment caused by several millionaires on World who believe that their own capability to farm is more important than my capability to farm, and everyone else's have aligned against them, and they've completely polarized the planet. So that's I've had this look. I mean, in recent weeks, people have asked me about the war on 880. I know some people have heard about it. I've kind of darted around that fact in the past, but people have been asking me about it. People have been asking me to kind of explain it a little bit, and I would say, like, that's the fundamentals of it. It looks like we can't find this guy. Although we did bite into his main troops, so who knows? Maybe we'll find him again later. So this was we found Lindic and ported him, a bot user, off. It was like right at the end of my last video, so looking for him again on Planet seemed to be a good opportunity to kind of explain exactly where we're coming from as a planet and why all of the guilds why would all of the guilds on a planet unite against a single guild that's very famous? NYC is a very famous guild. They're wonderful at Galactic Battle. They're a great team. They won the last season of Galactic Battle, and I watched the fight. It was amazing, and there were just some like stellar matches that happened on both sides of that. On FBI's, that FBI won, and also NYC won. NYC did win. And it was a great fight. So people have been asking me, hey, how is it that you have this guild who has been a fan favorite for years now, and they found a way to polarize all of the guilds on the world against them? And it is simply that it is tied into botting, it is tied into macros, and ultimately it's tied into respect. And this is not... And look, I'm not coming here and saying that they're evil. I don't want to be misconstrued by that. I have some friends in the guild, and they have been real supporters of the community over the years. I'm not saying it is evil behavior. I am saying that I believe, and other people on Planet believe, that it is wrong behavior for this game, or that it's wrong. Wrong is a subjective thing. It is behavior that does not encourage community play. It is behavior that encourages people to quit the game and not cooperate with each other and not interact as a community. And that is something that goes against the core values of Seraphim. We've always been about fostering the community. Those of you who know me know that I own the Discord server for Ark of War. We're at just about 1,700 people. It's about to come on its second birthday or second year anniversary. We should find some way to do an event for that. And so I have always viewed that server as a Seraphim server. It was a Seraphim initiative that started that server. So I'm about fostering the community. The people in Seraphim and the other guilds that have aligned with us are also about fostering the community. And to our mind, that isn't about just something you do outside of game. And I can see why people might believe that it is. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong for saying it is or it isn't. But our core value is in supporting community, and we find that the play style of the people that we are fighting against does not align with that. So that's a little bit of an explanation as to what is going on in server 880, why, if you're on some of the line chats or some of the Discord chats, why you see images being posted just about every day with Arks getting zeroed, even though we are about 7 months into this, coming up on 8 months actually, into this server merge, and it's still very, very fast-paced content, and it's still and hey, it's good for 7 pirates, because it causes a lot of spending, man, on both sides. So, looks like, we couldn't find this guy and completely zero him, this guy Lindic, but we were able to find him multiple times. We were able to defeat his meat shield due to him botting while being asleep. We were able to bite into his main troops. I am guessing that what happened at that point is his app crashed, because I didn't see him in the Fort Circle afterwards, and no one found him shielded. So I am guessing right now he is in the Abyss. And I know it's confusing for me to hop into live stream directly after I end another live stream, and we kind of missed the beginning where we started hitting him. But anyway, I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. So thanks for joining me again, guys, and enjoy the anniversary event.